and welcome to the Harbor Stitcher. My name's Jen and this is my channel all about cross stitch. I'm so happy to be here with you and I want to say thank you and welcome back if you have hung in there and watched Flosstubes 1 and 2, which were a WIP and a kit parade. If you're just finding me, I think those would be great videos to go back and you can get a taste of my style of stitching, the different types of projects I like to work on. But I also want to say if you did watch those and you're still here and watching number 3, which is going to be the first of the regular format of a floss tube that people are used to, then thank you so much for coming back. I really do appreciate the comments that have been left, the likes, subscribes, just the fun that it is to be putting all of this out there. And I'm so sorry. I do have windows open. We live in the Northwest. It's a little bit of a muggy day. We don't have air conditioning in a lot of houses up here, so apologies if you just heard that horn honk. But I wanted to start out today just saying a few thank yous. Over the 2 weeks since I put out my first WIP parade, there have been a number of floss tubers who have just been very welcoming, shared my first, screenshots of my first videos, things like that, onto their communities on Instagram, or have done a shout out on their Flosstube, or just left comments welcoming me into the Flosstube community. And I really wanted to say thank you to a number of those people today. The first is Laura from Stitching by the Shore. I know in my first video I couldn't remember the name of her channel and I only remembered her Instagram, but she did shout me out on her channel and I really appreciate that. Next are a few who we had a fun Zoom stitching session last week, and not only was it great to talk with them in that and be part of their communities, but they also shared my channel on their Instagram, and that is Chris, the Camping Stitcher, Nancy, the Disorderly Stitcher, and Alana at Mrs. Smith Stitches. Thank you guys so much for just being welcoming. And then others, the Pink Stitchers, who are fairly new, and the Huga Stitcher, and Corey Creates. Thank you all for coming over and visiting my channel and leaving really kind comments on the last couple videos. So thank you to everybody, and I hope that you'll go check out. You're probably following all of them, you know who they are, but if you're not, please go check out all of those channels. They're wonderful. Not only in the content, but also just wonderful people. So thank you. Next, I thought I'd just do a very quick recap of what's been going on in the last 2 weeks. I filmed my first WIP parade 2 weeks ago, and in that time, we have been to the NHRA Northwest Nationals drag races, which was a lot of fun. We went and we've gone a few times in the past. My husband's gone a few times. I've been once. This was our first year going with his cousins who came up to visit, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to be there with them and see their reaction to the first runs that they got to see, and the sound and the noise and how you just feel it in your chest. So that was a lot of fun. Got to spend a little time with family and see the grandbaby and get the call midweek to hear his first true belly giggle as soon as he was doing it. So I love those kind of calls. Last weekend, a good friend of mine had her niece in town, and so my son's girlfriend and I went with them, and we went to Snoqualmie Falls, had a beautiful brunch, and then we hiked down to the bottom of the falls to the river, and then back up. It's the part you always forget when the walk is so beautiful going down the trails, and you know there's a river at the end. You always forget how much effort it's going to be to get back up to the top. But it was beautiful. It was a gorgeous day for it, and we had a really good time. And then I got to spend a wonderful day on Thursday. I did have the day off from work. We were supposed to be out of town this weekend for a long weekend, and our plans changed to September. We'll be heading out. But I decided to keep the days off of work and just enjoy a little bit of quiet and relaxation time. But what that meant is I got to go spend a day with my mom, going through bins of old cross-stitch charts that a good friend of mine had shared to us. They were bins of cross-stitch and quilting, charts and patterns and books that were her mom's. And she was passing along, and we've gone through them, pulled out ones that we enjoyed, and then I'll be passing them along to others as well, and some of them you may see show up on here as future giveaways. But it was really fun to just spend the day with my mom, sitting on the patio, going through them, laughing at some of the charts. I think our favorite from the day was the seasonal cross-stitch toilet seat covers. That was a pattern that when we showed my husband and my dad, they both graciously said, please no, don't stitch those. We never need those in our home. But it was still fun to laugh at and have a good time. And then last night we had a great dinner down by the water with friends. And so it's just been a really fun, enjoyable 2 weeks. This next 2 weeks I will be traveling for work, and so it's going to be a little bit less crazy of fun activities and more about work travel, and possibly a little less stitching because of that. But you know, everything comes in waves and it's worth it. So let's jump into the stitching. I wanted to make sure that life stuff, in case it's not what you're super interested in, it's quick, but also just get to share a little bit of it. As far as stitching goes, I thought I would share 3 previous finishes to start with that are summer and nautical. So as soon as 4th of July is over, pretty much the month of July I leave it up through, I switch out things in our home to nautical for the rest of the summer. And most of that has not been cross stitch, it's just been nautical decor that we've collected over the years and put out. So this year I decided to maybe create a couple little pieces and start to beef up that seasonal decor that I can put out. So the first one I will say though is not nautical. It's just a summer piece, and I stitched this one, finished it, I believe I did get it out on display last year in time for the summer. And this is Summertime by Primrose Cottage Stitches. You will notice theirs is a much larger piece. I knew that I would not stitch the full kind of subway lettering piece that they had, but I loved the colors and just thought it was really cute, so I thought I would take elements of that chart and make it into a pillow. So this is the top corner of the chart, and then right here I think there's ice cream cones on the original chart, but I pulled up the lemonade and the berry baskets from kind of the bottom corner of what's in the chart and pulled them up to finish out, kind of fill in those gaps and just make this cute little pillow. Backed with some fun little orange fabric. This is stitched on a 14 count fabric from DMC. I don't remember what it's called, but it's one of their printed fabrics that looks like a sunrise or sunset. It's oranges and yellows throughout it. So this is one cut off of it, and it's stitched 2/1 with the called for DMC colors. So that is Summertime by Primrose Cottage Stitches. That one actually sits in a display on our one of our kitchen counters with like a big slice of watermelon and a strawberry piece and some other elements that sit out there for the summer. Then this one I just finished and FFO'd last month, and that is Celebrate Summer by Madame Chantilly. This is one of her seasonal tiered trays. Again, I knew I was not going to stitch this entire piece, but I loved it. So, and I apologize, that was the one I did not pull out first. Let me get that out of the plastic so I can show you a little bit better here. What I did is I knew this top part was what I loved the most. So I photocopied this part of the chart and this page of the chart and taped them together to figure out how to add this base of the stand right here. So I have let's call it a cake plate instead of a tiered tray. I just have the top piece, and here is my finish. This is stitched on 16 count Fog by Picture This Plus, I believe is the fabric. And it's with all of the called for DMC. And then I just finished it on, this was a sign that I think said Hello Fall or something in it from Hobby Lobby, and I put a piece of, I Mod Podged a piece of scrapbook paper to the back and finished it in here. So as you can see, this is my cake platter instead of tiered tray. I'm excited that this one is out now for the rest of the summer and we can enjoy it. And last but not least, one of the finishes that I got done this year, I do not have a chart I can show you because there isn't a cover page on this chart. It is by Georgia Girl Stitching. So sorry, Megan. She has a Gumroad page where you can buy some of her patterns, and one of them was the Nautical Alphabet. And so I chose to stitch our last name in the Nautical Alphabet and finish it on this cute, let me skip back a little bit here, this cute board. So I found this board last summer at a Dollar Tree. I was with my mother-in-law and we found it. It's just the red board. So when I finished the stitching, I used the Chelsea's checks and Priscilla's pretty plaids, and then I had some of this baker's twine on, in my stash, and wrapped it around so that it looked a little bit like what would be around a pier or a piling down at the docks. This is stitched on an 18 count Ada 1/1. Again, that's our last name, so that just hangs down in our entryway during this time of year. So those are my previous finishes that I'm excited that we have out for this summer in our decor. And now I will jump into, I have a finish that I just finished actually this morning. I was pushing, thinking, can I get this done in time to film? And I did. And that is, you would have seen this in my WIP parade, and I talked about it being one of my July borders where I focused to get the border done, but it's Bushel and a Peck by La-Di-Da. This one I did slightly different. I did end up leaving the border off. So I can't show the chart, but on the chart there's another whole border that goes along the outside. So you have like an outside border, these swirlies, and then the inside border. I had stitched the outside border first. The more I looked at this piece, the more I knew I didn't want the swirlies. I liked I loved the inside and wanted that piece and didn't necessarily want the swirlies. So what I did is I finished the inside and I left that outer border that I had finished so that it'll help me in framing it. Actually, I think it'll make it a lot easier to frame. But here's my finish. I love it. It's a song I used to sing the boys, or a little poem, so I'm very excited to have this one finished. I stitched this one on, it's a 32 count Legacy by Picture This Plus, and if you've ever stitched on Picture This Plus's Lugana, their 32 count can be kind of tight at times. And so you'll see the coverage I've got here. This is actually 1/2 on 32 count, and it's still got really, really good coverage. So I enjoyed that. I did not use the called for colors. This was called for in all DMCs. And I just decided to pick from my stash of fancy floss, and really what you needed was a green, a red, a yellow, and a dark gray steel type color. So I pulled directly from my stash with Classic Colorworks, and I've done honeycomb, spinach, baking tin, and cherry cobbler. So those were mine, and that is my finish for this week. I'm very excited. I have no idea how I'm going to frame it, but I am going to frame it and hang it on the wall somewhere. I'm very excited to have that. I will be right back. Hi, welcome back. So sorry about that. As I said earlier, my windows were open and my husband stepped out the front door and was on a call, and my son was leaving for a soccer game, and his car is very loud when it starts up, so it was pretty loud, so I had to pause for that. I came back, I filmed the entire rest of the video, only to end and realize that my computer had a glitch and none of it recorded. So this is take 2 on part 2 of Flosstube number 3. This has been a journey. This is lots of fun. But you know what? It's all part of it. So we'll see how this goes. I am going to redo going through my WIPs and my haul again with you. So we left off with my finish. I'm very excited to have had a finish, and that was one of the WIPs that I worked on this week. I realized that in my past 2 videos I never talked about what my rotation is, my stitching rotation. I am very much a stitch what you want when you want type of stitcher. I'm a mood stitcher. If it's been a long day and I just want to do some fill-in, then that's what I'll do, regardless of what I thought I had planned to do for that day. So I really just pick up what I want, but I do try to do a 3-day rotation whenever I pick up a project, because that's when I feel like I can get progress that I can see. You can notice you've made progress on the chart. You can truly feel accomplished in what you've done after 3 days. When I've tried to do picking up a different project every day, like I did 12 days of Christmas this year, and for 12 days I did a different project every day, I felt out of sorts. I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere with anything. So I do try to do 3 days whenever I pick up a project, and that can change if the project really grabs me. That's what happened with the La-Di-Da finish that I had with Bushel and a Peck. Was I picked it up, I did its 3 days, I realized I was really close to a finish, and hey, let's just power through and keep going. And so I kept going for a little bit longer so that I finished it. So that's what I tend to do with my rotation, and that's why today you will see a handful of WIPs, because I did try to do the 3-day rotation outside of the finish. So my first one is, and I apologize, this is the one that's still in the plastic, and it's because it's such a large chart, and I actually scanned it in and I stitch off of my iPad on this one. But this is Summer Quaker by Lila Studio. I know a lot of people are working on this one right now. There's several different stitch alongs and hashtags floating around. I did this one in my July borders and finished that inner seaweed border. The last 2 weeks I only picked this one up for 1 day actually, because I ended up getting obsessed with finishing the other piece. And so I had this inner border and the waves done, and this week I moved over to get some of this blue and the flower in. I really want to start getting to all of those Quaker motifs and seeing all the colors start to come in. This is stitched on, and I love this piece of fabric, but this is stitched on a 36 count linen in the color Ledger by Bestitch Me. I'm using all of the called for DMC, and I'm doing 1/2 on the 36 count. Love that piece. Next up, I worked on Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut. This one was the final July borders piece that I worked on, and so I had done kind of this flower and a little bit here and started some of the border. I decided to focus on trying to finish that outer border and get this box boxed in so that I can really work on this top quarter when I pick it back up again. And I'm gonna have to cover myself for this one because it's pretty big. I was able to get that done. So like I said, I had, oh, this guy's big. I had this top corner here done. So I continued the border all the way across, came down, and then did this chain link border across the middle, which this is gorgeous and it gives a great finish. But that is some very fiddly stitching. That is, what is it? 4, 8, 14 stitches in a color. Finish it off. Change color every 5, because you don't want to carry like a thread from here all the way over to here. So you're having to tie off and start a new color with every single one. Again, gorgeous, but fiddly. So happy to have that piece done of the border, and now I can go in and when I pick this back up again, really just focus on that top quarter, that starting to get in the houses and the letters and get the words going. And this one I am stitching on a 32 count latte Lugana by Fiber on a Whim. This is one of the hand dyed fabrics where the weave really has kind of shrunken up. Ooh, got a little dog hair there. Where the weave has really kind of shrunken up due to the dyeing, and so I am able to get away with 1/2 stitching on this 32 count, and I'm getting really great coverage. So enjoying that one. Next, I worked on 5 o'clock by Ink Circles. And this one is just so bright and vibrant to work on. This one is all the fun cocktails and bright colors. And when I showed it in my WIP parade, I had this center clock and 1 pickle completed. I now have, we have the pickles, we have the onions. We don't have a cocktail that they go into yet because I don't think you want them in the cocktail I finished. But here's where I'm at. It's a pretty true representation of the fabric color. You can see I finished the second pickle. We've got cherries. We've got beautiful martini olives, although they're not with the martini. They're with these 2 tropical cocktails. Finished this one, which to me looks like maybe it's a tequila sunrise. I don't know. This one's going to be a daiquiri. I just have to finish filling it in. I love this. Stitching on this is really fun, actually, and you get all these small little wins that you feel. This is an 18 count Jade Ada by Picture This Plus, and I am doing 1/1 with all the called for DMC. Try to get that to focus there. I love this one. And last but not least, outside of the finish and those WIPs, I did get the opportunity to participate, or not opportunity, I should say, I finally remembered to participate in Manning Monday, which is hosted by Allie on Instagram. I will put, I want to say it's Stitch Haven by Allie is her Instagram account, but I will put it in the description box below. And she does hashtag Manning Monday. And so I pulled out my Carrot Cake by Carolyn Manning for the last 2 Mondays and was able to get a little bit, very little bit of progress done on this. I'm just happy for any progress on this because it is so fun to stitch on. But what I did this time, let me try to hold it there for you, is I came over here. We have reached the page break. So this is the width of page 1. I'm not sure how much further down it goes. I think it's quite a bit, but that is the width of page 1. And I'm stitching this one on a 32 count, I think it's a light taupe Lugana by Zweigart, and I'm doing 2/2 with the called for DMCs. I have 2 other Carolyn Mannings in my stash that I would love to kit up and get going on. They're just completely different color schemes. I think one's called Bluebird, and then I showed you in my kit parade the Halloween one. And I would love to get both of those going, but I'm holding off. So those were my WIPs this week, and I will be continuing on with Manning Monday if I am able to remember to sit, like when I sit down to stitch on Mondays, which are usually kind of a busy day at work. That'll be the one that I'll pull out. And then I do plan to continue on with 5 o'clock in my stitching this next week. Other than that, I still have to figure out my plans because I'm going to be traveling for work, and that usually means I just pull out a fill-in project for the flight times and stitching in a hotel. So we'll see what comes up in the plans outside of those over the next couple of weeks. That's it for the stitching. Now I would love to share with you some haul as well as a few things that I pulled out of the archaeological dig through patterns that my mom and I did the other day. First up in haul though is this gorgeous project bag, Monopoly, made by Nancy, the Disorderly Stitcher. Nancy posted a picture of her completed bag on Instagram, and I commented and asked her where she got the fabric because I've never bought a bag. I make my own bags usually, and I would love to make a Monopoly bag like this to put my Monopoly board project in. And she was so kind to message me and say she had got the fabric a couple years ago, but she had all the pieces cut out to make one more bag, and would I like to buy it from her? Yes. Send me the bill, let me pay, this is gorgeous. And so I am so thrilled to have this and cannot wait to put the project in it after filming today. I just wanted to make sure and share it with everybody. Nancy makes beautiful bags, so if you ever have the opportunity to buy one of her bags, and I don't know if she actually sells them like in an Etsy shop or anything, but she should because they're gorgeous. And then I've got some haul that, oops, almost dropped it there. I want to preface this by saying I will not always have a haul. I'm trying to be really good about stitching through the patterns that are in my stash. I bought them for a reason. I bought them because I want to stitch them, and so I need to get going on them. But sometimes there are patterns that just grab your eye and you think, I'm going to buy it now before I forget, and then because it's in my stash, I'll get it stitched. And that's what a lot of these were. I kind of went down a little bit of a Stony Creek rabbit hole, and then we know that no chart can travel alone, so I added a few more. So this is haul from the last probably month and a half that I've purchased and have gotten in and wanted to share with you. First up is a magazine. This is a Stony Creek Cross Stitch Collection magazine from spring of 2019. I got this on a Facebook de-stash group. A great gal, member of the group, had posted up that she had many different seasons. I went online and started looking at what were the projects in each seasons because she didn't have pictures. She just had what seasons and what years. This one I was able to find that I really, you can see, liked a lot of the projects in it when I started to look through what the contents were online. I'll show you a couple of them here that are what got me excited. There's this God Bless America, and oops, trying to get the pages flipped here. Welcome Summer, which this one is just so, oops, so, and once you know I drop it, so fun and bright. And I will show you one more here, which is a beach one. I'm going to cover this up here. Just the charts at the bottom. Let me use the Monopoly bag and cover it up. It's summer. think those are so cute, and what a great value to just be able to buy from someone's stash one of these old magazines that are sitting out there. I am curious, and if anybody knows, does Stony Creek still publish a seasonal magazine, kind of like Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher? I haven't seen it advertised anywhere, so I don't know, but if you do know if they still publish these, let me know in the comments, because I would subscribe to that in a heartbeat. Next up on my Stony Creek journey, I got Beach Bounty. Love this one. This may be the death of me though, because this is all backstitch for that netting. So, and I think the areas where it connects, I think, are French knots. Let me see if I can quickly tell. Yes. So, all of this is backstitching and French knots. That's going to take me a while, but I think the look is absolutely worth it. And the final one on my Stony Creek seaside beach journey is Come Sail Away. I think this one in a beautiful variegated is going to be so pretty. And you'll be able to tell I was still in my summer nautical beachy shopping when I ordered this stuff weeks ago. But I got the Cricket Collection One If by Sea. I love that this is not only nautical, but it's patriotic, so I can have this up through the entire summer. It'll go from Memorial Day when I put out my patriotic, because I normally do patriotic from Memorial Day to 4th of July, and then I switch to nautical until fall. So this will be able to be up all summer long, and I love that. And then the chart came with, for these little boats, it came with a full alphabet, so you can do, make sure you can do your initials there, or anyone's initials on those little boats. I think that one is so cute. And I can't say this is the final seaside, but Dirty Annie's. Everybody loves, I know, Dirty Annie's patterns. I think in both my kit parade and my WIP parade, you've seen that I have a number of them. I had to add this one called Dance Like a Mermaid. It says, drink like a pirate, dance like a mermaid. And then it has this great little starfish charm in here. I think that's a great motto for life. We should all live this way. And then I got a 1-2-3 stitch order this last week. And the reason, I hadn't planned on buying anything else. I was content. But I got notified that an item I had on my wish list and asked to be notified when they got it back in stock had come into stock, and so I didn't want to miss it, but obviously it couldn't travel to me by itself, so I threw a few things into the cart. But what that chart was is, I think it's just called Coastal Cola. Yeah, Coastal Cola by Silver Creek Samplers. I love it, and I don't know if it's an older one, a newer one, because it was out of stock and I had to be notified, so probably not one of her newest releases, but I love that one. And this goes back to my philosophy of I use the fancy floss when there's bigger coverage or areas that I want the variegation. I knew I would want the variegation in the letters because they cover so much of the pattern, so I did pick up that floss along with it. And this is called Cinnabar. So these were the reason I placed the 1-2-3 stitch order, but you can't pay shipping just for that. So what I threw in was a Shannon Christine design that I've had on my wish list for a while, which is Looks Like Christmas. Love it. It's just classic Christmas to me, and the colors, the look, it's adorable. Also threw in a Cressida Go-Go Winter Warm Wishes. I love that every animal on there is wearing a scarf, So are the snowmen. So cute. And I'm sorry on the glare on that one, but this one, they actually seal them with a sticker so you know it's been opened or it's original. And I didn't want to break that seal just yet. And then the final pattern in my haul was Amy Brucken's Every Little Thing's Gonna Be Alright. I've only done one other Amy Brucken before, and it was my grandson's birth sampler. I did Loved Boy for his birth sampler, and it was so cute and stitched up so great. And I think this one's going to match several other Bent Creek and Lizzie Kates that I have in my stash right now. So I love this one. And I threw in 2 pieces of fabric, because you can never have too much Vintage Country Mocha. This is 36 count linen in Vintage Country Mocha, and I got a fat quarter. And then I saw somebody else share this color of blue, and so I grabbed a fat quarter of it, and it's called Smoke Blue. This is a 36 count linen as well. It's kind of a gray blue with a tinge of green, just as Weigart base linen. I just think it's a really pretty color. That's all my haul. It seems a little excessive this time around probably, but that is about a month and a half and a few different places and orders that came in over the last several weeks, so I saved them up to show. Last but not least, I would love to share a couple of the patterns that we found in our dig, our archaeological dig through that pattern stash we were so graciously gifted by a friend. And I'll just show a handful of them, but these were ones that either really grabbed my eye or that I'd been looking for, and I'll share that in a minute. But these first 2 are from a designer that I don't think designs anymore. I've never heard of it. They are dated 1996, so they're older. And it's from Raspberry Patch Design Studio. If anybody knows if they're still designing, please let me know. But this first one is called Stars and Stripes, and these are real photos on the front, so I apologize for the glare. These are from a birdhouse series, and I just thought that little birdhouse was so cute, and I'm sure Just Another Button Company has a couple buttons that we can use on that. And the second one in that series was called A Little Bit of Christmas. Again, just really cute little smalls that probably would stitch up pretty quick. There's no numbering on these charts to tell you how big it is. Oh, it's 65 by 96. So these would stitch up pretty quickly. And it actually says that those are Mill Hill beads, the cardinal and the presents and everything. So I'm sure I can find these somewhere. I thought those 2 were very cute. And then I found, there's a couple Christmas charts I pulled out, and one is called A Feather Tree by Robin Taylor. This one is dated 1991, and it looks like it was published by Just Cross Stitch. I love the classic Christmas look of that. It's simple, it's cute. I just love that. And then we've got a Homespun Holiday by Dimensions. This is the Santa that does it for me. I love this Merry Christmas Santa. I feel like there's a number of patterns today. I have a Darlene Dion Christmas pattern and a few others that I think this would go really well with. There's just something about that look. It kind of takes me back to the days of toll painting. I think back in like the 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of like Christmas Santas and snowmen and things that were toll painted. And this seems to remind me of that vibe for some reason. This is 1995, so yeah, it's around that time. And then the final 2. These are 2 Christmas charts that have been on my wish list, one for quite a while, one just entered my wish list last week. First one, I saw Pam from Just Keep Stitching had stitched this at one point, and it immediately went on my wish list, and I hadn't been able to find it, but I did just find it in, again, this stash, which is so amazing when you've been looking on eBay and other places, and then it lands in your lap, which is just amazing. And that is Christmas patches. This is adorable, and for some reason reminds me quite a bit of Dolly Parton's Coat of Many Colors. I don't know why, but it does. And I know it's somewhat dated, however, it takes me back to the Christmas of my childhood. And I just love that. The other one, if you're not watching Mama Loves You GB, you should be. I'll just start with that. But if you've never watched any of hers, the most amazing place to start would be to go look at her Santa portraits finish that she just finished the stitching, framing, and then did a whole video on Santa portrait charts that are out there. Her finish is absolutely stunning. It is gorgeous, and I wish I could completely copy her and do that exact same thing and have it on my mantle by this Christmas, but that would never happen. But through her Santa portraits video where she showed charts, I fell in love with one, and I had been looking at eBay over the last few days trying to find the book that it was in, because it was in a Leisure Arts hardbound Christmas book, and I found a few, but I lost out on one bid, and so it just so happened that not the hardbound book, but the original leaflet that pattern was in the bins that we were gifted, and that is the Santa with the polar bear. It's so unique, but so cool. And I love this one. This is the leaflet that it was in. And I literally stopped and like squealed when I came across this when my mom and I were going through the books. I could not believe my luck that it was in there, and it's one that I've been looking at on eBay. So very excited to have found that. I'm not going to go through and show you any more that we found through there. Maybe in future videos, whether they're seasonal or as things come up, I'll share some more of what was pulled out. I'm excited to be able to now pass on the additional bins of charts to, I've called a local guild here locally to see if they want it. I've pulled out a few that I'm going to be able to pass on to you guys. I've sent a few DMs to people that I know some of the charts were up their alley and are 100% their style. So just trying to pass them along, because that's all that my friend wanted. Is she's like, you know, this is a pay it forward. Pass these charts to people who will truly stitch them and use them. And so that's what we're trying to do and facilitate. But that's it for this week. As far as plans, I think I've already shared, because I'm going to be traveling for work, my stitching might be a little bit more limited, but I have some projects already in mind for the plans for the next 2 weeks, and hopefully I'll be back in 2 weeks. Depends on how work travel goes, and that nothing, you know, no flights get canceled, which I've been hearing a lot of lately, and how it goes, but hopefully I'll be back. And until then, I hope everybody has wonderful stitchy weeks, and that you get a lot of time in with your friends, family, loved ones, or just doing what you love to do. Have a great stitchy week, and I'll talk to you soon, friends. Bye-bye.